The portfolio allocation question comes up all the time. What percentage of gold do you have? It's actually a hard one to answer. But I can tell you, I have twice as much gold as I have Bitcoin. Maybe that's a good way to start off a video. Okay, so I invest in a few different things. Beyond my interest in gold, I pay attention to equities, to real estate, and a few other things. And none of this is the focus of my career, so I'm definitely not trying to give financial advice. But I will say that since I have a pretty broad interest in investments, and because I'm as interested in making money as the next person, I spend a fair amount of time trying to stay up to speed on the markets and newer options like cryptocurrency. And cryptocurrency isn't really new at this point, but the popular information surrounding it, well, it really isn't the kind of thing that you find on CNBC. I think it's safe to say that YouTube crypto channels and Twitter are every bit as influential as the traditional news outfits, and they're probably a lot more popular. So this is maybe a long way of me saying that I pay attention to YouTube and Twitter enough to hear popular sources of information compare gold and Bitcoin. I see the charts and I see the math coming from people showing the erosion of purchasing power over time, basically giving the inflation-adjusted value of gold. And what that typically comes down to is people trying to pit gold against Bitcoin. So in other words, which of the two is the better hedge against inflation and which is the better asset for wealth preservation? And that's all fine and good. Both Bitcoin and gold play a potential role as a hedge. And if you were to compare Bitcoin's growth versus gold's growth over, say, the last 10 years, you'd see a pretty compelling story that Bitcoin is the better store of wealth. And if you're coming from the Bitcoin side of things, that's the kind of window that you're going to try to show. And then on top of that, you would layer on this idea that gold has an infinite supply, which is not at all true, but crypto channels like to speak this as if it's a fact. Just dig deeper or just pull down that gold asteroid and the price of gold will crater. That idea is ridiculous, of course. And honestly, it's pretty difficult to take anyone seriously if they're contending that asteroid mining is a logical possibility. But if you're a Bitcoin enthusiast, that supply scarcity, that's another reason Bitcoin's better than gold. And asteroid mining, well, I guess that's just a convenient argument, even though it's stupid. Anyway, the only thing that any of this reinforces to me is that people love to find patterns where they don't exist. And I'm not going to go into the Gestalt psychology, but if you've ever heard the phrase that the whole is more than the sum of its parts, well, that's the gist. People love to extrapolate short windows of time or connect dots that seem to be related, and they love to jump to conclusions. It's just how the human brain works. But when I hear a crypto channel mention that gold is not scarce, well, it's pretty clear that they haven't tried to buy a gold coin lately, and they really have no understanding of the economics behind mining, refining, and retail supply channels. Now, none of this is really helpful to the general topic of which one to buy, whether you should go all in on one or the other. I really just wanted to start off by laying a simple groundwork idea that a Bitcoin enthusiast is going to paint a picture one way and a gold bug is going to paint something else entirely. The part that I do think is helpful is talking about the reasons a person might buy gold, even if they were heavily into Bitcoin, and why a person might also buy Bitcoin if they were heavily into gold. And I don't see that happening very often, even though I personally think they're very different from each other. Bitcoin at this point is a growth investment to me, and gold is both a hedge against a wide range of events and also a really good savings model, but we'll come back to that in a minute. So the question of what percentage of my portfolio I hold in gold comes up a few times a day. And it's actually a really hard question, but I have about twice as much gold as I have Bitcoin. That's denominated in US dollars. Now, partly that's just because I've been buying gold for a lot longer than I've been buying Bitcoin, but I'm also currently buying about twice as much gold as Bitcoin. That's every month. And again, that's valued in dollars. So I'm not 50-50 on gold and Bitcoin like Jim Cramer and a few others have recommended lately. And even though I am heavier into gold right now, I like the fundamental idea of decentralized digital currency. I can see past the volatility, more or less. But there are still a number of things I don't like about Bitcoin. I don't like the energy it uses. I don't like the transfer speeds. I don't like the time it takes to get it on an exchange if I want to sell it. And I don't like the reporting requirements for capital gains taxes, quite honestly. That's not to say that I'm trying to avoid taxes on it. I just don't like the reporting setup. Anyway, I do think Bitcoin will evolve. So what I look for in a new investment is pretty simple. I really just want to know if it creates value. And the problem with a lot of tech startups is that they try to fix a problem that just simply does not exist. Now, Bitcoin is different. It addresses the issue of banks taking a cut of nearly every transaction that occurs online. So it's a legitimate technical achievement. So that tulip craze that people on the gold side like to reference, it's a little like the asteroid mining argument that comes up on the other side. It just doesn't make sense. Tulip mania was not based on a technical advancement. Now, Bitcoin is not going anywhere soon. It will adapt, it'll evolve, and it'll improve. And because the number of Bitcoins is finite, the price for each whole coin is going to continue to go up. Now, that again is my non-professional opinion. And the primary reason, though, that I'm still pushing twice the money to gold rather than going 50-50 or going all in on crypto is simply that I have reservations about buying in at such high levels. Now, if it does continue to gain at 100% like it has so far this year, or 330% like it did last year, well, it would hypothetically balance out to that 50-50 by the end of 2021 all on its own. Another reason is that I simply want to have more in hard assets. My retirement account and my brokerage accounts are heavily weighted toward tech and retail stocks. And even though I just mentioned that Bitcoin does serve a purpose, I look at my position in Bitcoin a lot like I look at my position in tech stocks. But I see gold as both a hedge against the rest of my portfolio and again as a really great way to save. Now, gold as a hedge against inflation or hedge against the dollar in general, those are just more reasons that it's a really good savings model. But like I've mentioned before, purchasing something physical that you like and it stays liquid and actually appreciates over time, well, to me that beats saving cash any day. So in that regard, Bitcoin and gold are really nothing alike at all to me. And I don't think of them as competing for my discretionary funds on a monthly basis. I'm not all in on one or the other now, and I won't be all in on one or the other anytime in the near future. And as you can imagine, based on the focus of my channel, I do enjoy gold more than Bitcoin, but I wouldn't ignore a potential investment simply because certain people try to pit it as a competitor. And just so we're clear, that 50% more gold than Bitcoin, well, that doesn't include my ETF holdings in GLD, IAU, or SLV. It also doesn't include mining stocks. And then it also ignores Ethereum and some of the other altcoins that I pick up now and then. Really, all I'd say here is that I try to keep an open mind to alternative investments. Now, I'm not a heavy investor, but I do try to put available capital to work, try to get as much passive growth as possible. Now, sometimes I'll take profits out and put that back into gold, but the overall goal is to be better off in the future than I am now, and to put in a few safety measures just in case unexpected things crop up. All right, just to be super clear, none of this is meant to try to sell anyone on the things that I'm up to. I'm really just here to talk about gold and then give a little bit of perspective on why I'm bullish on the metal even when others aren't. Now, and that, I might be preaching to the choir, but it's fun to get this stuff out on camera now and then. I'd really like to see the Bitcoin channels beat that. Anyway, I think that does it today. So thank you again for watching. I hope you're all well. Let me know what you think, whether you love Bitcoin or hate it. And if you don't mind, hit the like button while you're there. It is a big help to the channel. So thank you again for watching. I always appreciate your time. Take care.